What is going on, YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. Today I have an update on the tuning situation with this here Civic. Unfortunately, it's a little bit of shitty news. I wish things went better, but it didn't. There might be something wrong with my ECU, or there might be something wrong with the Hondata that we have to troubleshoot. We have to get a good Hondata and a good ECU we know that works, swap them around in the car, and see if we can't rule out if my Hondata chip is bad or if my ECU is bad. Today, somewhere in here, I have to find my OEM ECU, the P30, for this B16, just to make sure that we can go back to the OE ECU. I have it somewhere, I just have to find it, whether it's still in the car or not. I kind of forget, so I gotta find that, but I'm gonna plug in my laptop and see if I can't fiddle around a little bit more. Basically, we had the tune perfectly refined, hitting target AFR, at idle, partial throttle, full throttle, high cam, low cam, in open loop. The minute we switch it to closed loop, whether it's to target lambda or to target voltage, even with the parameters in closed loop configured, adjusted, messed with, we cannot get the thing to idle any higher than 20 and 19 AFR. Like, it's just stuck there for a second. It sounds like a 454 big block with a thumpy cam in it, and then it kills itself because it's so freaking lean. It's just weird though, because when I was on the USDM P30 base map that comes with Hondata, I was running it lambda target closed loop and it was fine. It was sitting at like 13. It was a little bit rich, but it was completely fine. It wasn't locked at like 19, 20, and we don't really know why. Another thing, you guys know the rattly exhaust on this thing has been around since I got the car 5 years ago. Why I've never fixed it, I don't know, but it's time to. I just ordered a high flow cat because the rattle in this thing is because of the old Chevy Impala cat that's in there. The catalyst is broken apart, fallen in there, and is rattling within the housing of the cat. And that's also causing a restriction. We think it's going from 2.5 to like a 1 or 1.5 with all the catalyst blocking it in there. And when it switches over into VTEC, it like falls on its face and then slowly starts to wake up. And that's not how it's supposed to be. And we need to figure out if my Hondata is bad, my ECU, if something in the tune. I don't know if any of you guys have experienced getting it perfect in open loop and then turning it to closed loop and not getting it to idle and just stuck on lean pretty much. Let me know in the comments below, because any help is very appreciated right now. I'm gonna go ahead and fasten this up in place, and then we're gonna turn this thing on, let it idle, and see if we can't figure anything out. But now that the ECU is bolted up in place, we're gonna go ahead, open up the laptop, plug it into Hondata, and see if we can't figure out why this thing is doing some of the things that it is doing. So I updated the Hondata. That's the version we are on right now. And as you can see, this is the map. 13.8 AFR, 14, 13.8. It's really stuck on the 13.8s, but it's showing 14 on the gauge. So it's a little bit off slightly, but she is idling perfect. Even if you give it some throttle, it is like perfect. Now the moment I go up here to parameters, we are disabled in closed loop right now because it like tries to kill itself in closed loop. If we go lambda target, watch what happens. Instantly tries to murk itself. Same if we go voltage target. Nothing changes. As soon as we go back to open loop, it's right back to good. So I don't know what the hell is going on with this, but I'm gonna sit here and try to mess with some things, I guess. I just took off the tuner's tune file and I uploaded a stock P30 base map, set up the configuration for a wideband, and now it's running perfect in closed loop. So why would the stock P30 base map run perfectly in closed loop, but on the tuned file it won't run at all in closed loop? That to me is very, very, very strange. Well boys, unfortunately I'm tapping out. It's sitting perfect stoichiometric in open loop, but the minute you switch it to closed loop, it just doesn't work. I don't know if my ECU is damaged or my Hondata or both, but when it's on just a normal base map configured for a wideband with these same voltage offsets, it runs perfect in closed loop. The minute you go to open loop and adjust the fuel tables and then go back to closed loop, it just tries to kill itself. Not even kidding you guys. So I really don't know what to do. I'm lost. If any of you guys know what's going on with this, please put it in the comments below. I just want to drive my freaking car, and now we're at this roadblock. After a whole entire day of posting in Hondata Facebook groups, reading Hondata forums, talking back and forth with a couple different tuners, trying to find out a solution to what's going on with this, getting the tune perfect in closed loop, turning on open, or sorry, getting the tune perfect in open loop, then turning on closed loop and having it lean right out. What I did was I zeroed out the short and long-term fuel trims in closed loop, set closed loop to lambda target, retuned the fuel tables on low speed, in closed loop with the short and long-term trims zeroed out, and then I just added in -10 and 10 on long-term fuel trims and -8 and 8 on short-term fuel trims, and it seems to be working. The graph is still very messy. The tune needs to be ironed out, but at least now we know that we can run it in closed loop. We just have to tune it in closed loop with the trims zeroed out, then add a little bit of the trims back in. I'm gonna start it up right now and see how it does on cold start, because I haven't done a cold start yet. It's been sitting overnight. I haven't done a cold start yet on this new map in closed loop. So we're gonna fire it up, see how the cold start is. No high cam, no VTEC tune yet, but it was running great at all levels of throttle outside of VTEC yesterday once I tuned it in closed loop. Like I said, the graphs still need to be smoothed out. The tune isn't great, but it works. Alright, it's been another 24 hours. I've done more research, more digging, this time on things outside of ECU and Hondata, and I've come to the conclusion that we actually wired in this wideband incorrectly. So the white wire, the red power, and the black ground are all in the respective places. If you have a new wideband, there's no need to cut the resistors on ELD pin D10. You can go ahead with D14, no problem. The issue lying there is that I can't read the full 5 volts, but it can still read up to 16 to 16.5 AFR, which is way too lean for any application. So pin D14 is fine. A26 and A25 for power and ground are fine, but D21 or D22 for that brown ground wire are not good, because D21 and D22 are sensor grounds, meaning they're unclean grounds, whereas pin, whatever the black wire goes into, I think it's pin A26. Pin A26 is a logic ground, which is a clean ground. So unfortunately all 4 of mine are soldered in place, but I'm gonna go ahead and snip the brown wire, tape up pin D21 and just leave it there, and I'm gonna move the brown wire with the black wire going into pin A26, and then we're gonna try and see if closed loop works from there, because that brown wire needs a clean ground, not an unclean ground, and where we have a ground right now apparently is unclean. So we're gonna move it to a clean ground, fingers crossed, hope it works. You're gonna find out. Right there is my brown wire. It's going into B or pin D22 or 21. They're both sensor grounds, but this brown wire should not be going into a D pin. This brown wire alongside this black wire right here should be going into the same one, which is A26, which is this wire right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take our brown wire and I'm gonna cut it off. So if I need to put it back, I can, but I think you need, for this to work, you need to remove resistor J12, which is still in my ECU. So I'm gonna cut this off and I'm just gonna T-tap it in there just to see if it works for the time being. We have it moved from the green wire into A26 with the black wire, and now we're just waiting for it to get up to temp before we actually switch to closed loop and see if it fixes our issue. But 13.9, 14, and this is reading 14, 13.9, so we're pretty on the money for that. So I do believe that this T-tap worked, even though I don't recommend using T-taps. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. Now that that brown is ground on E26 with the black wire, Let's see if switching to closed loop works or if it still leans it right out. Well, it's not as bad. Still not awesome at all. I'm gonna mess with it, but didn't work. No solution was able to be found. Think I got a dead ECU. If you got anything for me, put it in the comments below. Comment, like, subscribe. Peace.